I have covered so far. The most important thing is a calorie deficit. If you're not in a deficit, then you will not lose fat. We also want to take on enough protein to preserve muscle. It's also very useful when trying to get into a calorie deficit. We've covered all that. Now, today I'm going to be talking about resistance training during a calorie deficit and why we need it. So we want to preserve muscle, as I covered in protein intake, and obviously a way of preserving muscle is by using that muscle and the body seeing a reason for it to hold on to it. So keep resistance training up during your calorie deficit. During a calorie deficit and during resistance training, don't expect your strength to go up. Don't expect much muscle gain to happen because it is difficult. So it doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's certainly very difficult. So I always just say, look, don't expect to get stronger. If anything, you might get a little bit weaker. Again, it's going back to what I covered with the protein intake thing, preserving muscle tissue via the protein intake, and now obviously by resistance training, we will help to keep our body composition good. We don't want to waste our muscle away that we have built up before going into this calorie deficit. What you will also find is resistance training is a facilitator for fat loss. Nutrition, think of that as the driver. We've got resistance training as the navigator. So what I'm kind of getting at with that little analogy is you can always drive to your destination, no problem. With a navigator, it's a little bit easier. Think of that in terms of resistance training and calorie deficit. Calorie deficit is the driver and our resistance training is the navigator, helping us get there a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficiently. The resistance training itself doesn't have to be complicated. If anything, just work hard at any given rep range that you choose. Choose a kind of multiple rep ranges, and you'll probably be fine. There is no magical rep range that burns fat. 20 reps doesn't burn any more fat than 10 reps does. So don't get your head twisted around all of that. Just work hard at any given rep range. And the actual exercises don't matter either, whether they're compound or isolated. Once again, you're looking to essentially preserve muscle. You're not going to necessarily burn more calories just because you've done a leg press instead of a squat or a squat instead of a leg press. Work hard at them both and you will pretty much get the same result. What I would suggest is make sure you're hitting all major muscle groups, all major movement patterns. If you do every major movement pattern, you'll probably hit every major muscle group and vice versa. So it doesn't really matter in that respect as well. Let me give you an example. So every major muscle group, let's say chest, shoulders, back, abs, legs. Make sure you hit all of those. Movement patterns, push, pull, hinge, squat. Make sure you get all of those. And with push, pull, you could break it down into vertical and horizontal. You're pretty golden after that. Get some ab work in after that as well. Core work, whatever you want to call it. I hope all of that has made sense. If these videos are throwing up any questions, send me some questions and I'll make a video out of that if there are enough. That's a better sign off, isn't it?